social media is influencing. It is staying top of mind. It is about staying in their world, in their perspective, in their context all the time. And that does not happen because of one post that was absolutely perfect on day 7. It happens because of consistency and heart and a voice that's worthy of being followed and eventually worthy of being engaged with. And that takes time, just like a human relationship. And that's why social media really does have a special and nuanced place in B2B marketing, but you need to think about it in a different way versus, just this straightforward, super quick engagement. Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Marketing Blender Show. I'm Dacia Coffey, and today my co-host is the fabulous Samaria Boyd, who you remember from multiple other shows. And our topic is the importance of a B2B social media audit. Now, I'm excited about this because there's a lot of angst and gnashing of teeth when it comes to social media and what role is it supposed to play in B2B marketing. And our expert is going to walk us through this. Now, she conducts dozens of social media audits a year and has done so for years. And so I'm really excited for her to share what she does and really what's in the mind of a social media artist or specialist, when they're looking at accounts and when they're looking for the impact that can have on business. So Samaria, thanks so much for joining me again today.
Thanks for having me back.
All right, let's start with what is a social media audit and why does it matter?
So a social media audit is essentially a deep dive into what's going on your social, if you have them. Some of our clients sometimes don't have social.
Right. Yep.
So that includes anything from their Google My Business account, YouTube, Twitter or X, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. More frequently, it'll be LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook that we typically are checking. So we kind of take a look at what's going on as far as what kind of content are they posting, how long has it been since they posted if they aren't frequently posting now. We also take a look at kind of what opportunities are there, and even go as far as to, watch a couple videos, depending on if they have YouTube channels or if they are doing short form video. And we also take a look at their competitors and things like that so that we can get kind of an idea of what their space is kind of looking like.
I love it. So when you say you're looking for opportunities, like how do you define that?
So I guess what I'm looking at when I'm thinking of opportunity is more like, what are you missing, right?
Yeah.
So like you could be doing the regular posting of your team. You could be doing different highlights, talking about your clients or things like that, or whatever industry you're servicing. But are you posting short form video? Are you potentially, I guess if your audience is a little bit more on the younger side, or maybe they just have a different sense of humor, are you tapping into that humor? What is it that we can do to kind of set you apart from your competition? And also, are we making sure that we're, fostering community? I think that's the biggest thing is, are we engaging? That's usually the biggest one that I find is like, we have the opportunity to actually engage with the audience. Some of these people actually are commenting back, but nobody knows how to respond. So, but yeah, those are the things that I look for when I'm thinking of opportunity.
You just gave so many big points there that I want to unpack for just a minute. We are going to come back to short form content, you guys. So we're going to ask her a little bit more about this because this is so big. But one of the things that that the whole idea about fostering community that's so important to me when I'm thinking lead generation and strategy is people get frustrated by B2B social media because it's not a lead generator. And we've got to reframe that. So sometimes it can be, especially if you are provoking more referrals and you're staying top of mind in a highly engaged community. It's been remarkable to see when you've got really rich social media that shows the authentic heart of the company and then appropriately positions your offering inside of what the people care about. It's amazing how your lead sources will increase based on the engagement and the followership. So I think that's one thing. When you're talking about engaged community, there's so much goodness there that comes, and we see it in the numbers when you do that. So what kind of content doesn't engage? community?
I just think it's content that really has nothing to do with what your audience is really looking for. So like sometimes it'll be like the filler posts, so like holiday posts. Those are typically not super like nobody really comments on those, right? Because everybody's saying Happy Thanksgiving, so
Exactly.
they've said it like 30 times, so they'll just like the post and go on. But really, I think the one that is probably the least interacted with is gonna be like the more salesy posts.
Yeah.
The posts that probably could be ads. Those people don't really, they might like it, but they won't comment or ask any questions because it's not really thought provoking for them. One thing that I've learned in like the B2B space is that like for people to comment, it has to be thought provoking or like it has to make them either ask a question or want to respond.
Yeah.
So whether that be, I guess, negative or positive, just kind of allowing people that space. That's the kind of content that you kind of want to have in the B2B space, is allowing people to come in and I guess just overall just have a conversation with you. And I guess overall the brand. And have that person that's able to answer and respond back as well.
Exactly. So. I love that you brought up negative or positive, because I feel like so many business to business organizations are so scared of anything negative. And that's so silly, because if you have a great product and if you are smart, which they are, then feel comfortable letting people say the things and letting them show you where they're confused, where they're angry, where they're skeptical, because that conversation is interesting to other people. And then you can come back in an authentic and really respectable, like honorable way where it's not nitpicking. You know, I mean, even the tone which with you respond, we see this a ton with our clients that either are engineers or sell into an engineering-based community. Engineers will engage, like, which is so good, but you have to let them go, well, I don't think the wind shear on this, that, or the other would held. But then, then a subject matter expert can be like, great point, actually, and you can get this really great dialogue because they're not usually trying to be jerks. And if they are, if it's a competitor, well, let's just let them show themselves for what they are.
I think that's one of the things that I kind of, which I guess this isn't necessarily about the audit, but one of the things that I enjoy about engaging on social, especially in those spaces as far as like construction, manufacturing, is that typically even competitors aren't necessarily coming to be disrespectful. They're usually coming with a different perspective. So then that helps kind of, I guess it's like an easy way to get people into conversation. As long as everybody stays respectful. I don't think I've ever seen anybody get super disrespectful in conversation. Obviously there's the like kind of sharp, like responses. But other than that, like I think that's one of my favorite things to see is when there are competitors that are like, well, actually this is the reason why, this product works or whatever. And then, our people may come back and say, well, actually, and then eventually everything just kind of settles on, okay, right product for the right time. Like, and that's, I just always like seeing that because like, yes, we are competing, but we also have to make sure that we are doing good things for humanity and the world. So it's always good to see that kind of thing. So
exactly. Well, and you've been a big proponent, regarding fostering community for getting real people, in front of the camera and real content. And it's not about being polished and perfect. Talk about engagement. Like when friends and family see their person being shouted out and highlighted on their companies. I mean, those are so cool. And especially if they're stories. I mean, even perfect strangers will really enjoy seeing like a career trajectory or a highlight or a win, especially if it's, somebody who had to overcome something, but that's just being real. And I love those kind.
I do too. I think especially on like LinkedIn and Facebook, those are like the top places that I see people really enjoy and engage with those kinds of things, which is why it's important for us when we're, doing the audit to see like whether or not we have the space to include that kind of content.
Yeah.
And if we, I mean, it's not that we don't have the space. We will create the space to create that kind of content. And it may take a little bit longer. Like we may not be able to do it within the first month. We may have to schedule some things. We have some people who aren't always comfortable on camera. So we have to craft different ways to get them involved in social, whether that just be taking, a minute to talk to them on the phone, ask them some questions, gather quotes, things of that nature. So it's really, I just think that's super important on all social, but it helps humanize your brand. And so that is like one of the biggest opportunities that a lot of clients have coming in is to showcase their team.
Are you a CEO of a business-to-business company? Maybe you're a sales leader or a salesperson, or maybe you're in business-to-business marketing. Well, if so, I wrote a book for you, and it's called Corporate Caffeine. Business-to-business marketing is different, but there are certain predictable, fundamental principles that will help you unleash your organizational potential and fill your pipeline sustainably. So you can find my book on Audible, on Amazon, on barnesandnoble.com, or any of your favorite retailers. Hope you enjoy it, and I'd love to hear your feedback. Well, and in case we don't get to it later, I did want to jump on another really cool, important thing you're saying right there. And it's about how social media basically matures over time. So for instance, typically when we're relaunching or launching social media for a new client, you spend about a month gathering the interviews, getting content approved, really making sure you understand the voice, and building an entire content calendar that's extremely proactive, understanding milestones, all sorts of stuff. And then phase one is go live and watch the data. It's not be perfect. It's not be who your social media is going to be 2 years from now once there is an engaged community, but it's go live with the new content and learn what's happening out there. Yeah. And we're teaching those machines, hey, we're going to start paying attention to these accounts because they're now getting more active and they're doing different things. So there's a machine component to it. And then as the client gets to know your style, you get to know theirs, we start getting better content, we start getting more engagement. Then it takes on more nuance. But I see a lot of people trying to be perfect or super aggressive month one. And it's really not how social media works, not from a technical standpoint, but also not from a human content and a success standpoint either.
Yeah, I think my biggest thing about like those aggressive launches is that you waste, especially when there's not an an audience that wants to be engaged, or like there's not an audience at all. You waste so much incredible content when you go and you're like, okay, well, we're going to do big campaign. We're going to do this. We're going to put a paid push, and like there's no organic presence. You waste so much opportunity. So like, that's why when I present the audits and I say, hey, we have the opportunity to do this, I let them know like this may come down like a couple of months later. It may not be right at the beginning, but this is something that we need to keep on our radar because it's something that we can do. But we want to make sure that we have the content that is, I guess, like we want to not necessarily save the good content, but like we want to make sure that we have the audience for that content.
Yes.
And it's not to say that we don't post like incredible things while we're building, because yes, we will take some time to create some, whether it's like super, I guess, how do I say it? Like super audience oriented, I guess, or like if it's just basic content about the company that's actually pretty good, we can always take it down the line and repost it once we have a more engaged audience. But like, I just don't like, it's like pulling all the tricks out of the bag too early.
Yes.
I don't like doing that because it's just like, we don't have once we have the audience, I think it'll be the perfect time to post this. And, honestly, like even then we may not have the same or the level of engagement that we want on that post, even if we wait 6 months down the line. But the thing is that I can at least gauge what I can change a little further down the line versus like when we don't have anyone engaging, nobody's commenting, nobody's liking, nobody's interacting at all. So I don't know what I need to change. So there's so much testing that happens within those first couple of months. So it's just like, we have our content and we build out the calendar. These are the ideas that we have coming up. This is what we need to be expecting, and this is what we need to prepare for. So
yes,
I guess that's just how that goes. Like it's not that I don't like aggressive launches, because I do sometimes, depending on,
what we're working with.
Yeah, it just depends.
Yeah. Okay, she is giving so much gold right here. Do not shout in the street when no one is there to listen with your social media launches. So, I just am such a big component of your approach to this because it's thoughtful and intentional and it's based on results. And people's impatience does not serve them because social media is influencing. It is staying top of mind. It is about staying in their world, in their perspective, in their context all the time. And that does not happen because of one post that was absolutely perfect on day 7.
Yeah.
It happens because of consistency and heart and a voice that's worthy of being followed and eventually worthy of being engaged with. And that takes time, just like a human relationship. And that's why social media really does have a special and nuanced place in B2B marketing, but you need to think about it in a different way versus, just this straightforward, super quick engagement. So, okay. So let's dive back into, tell us more about the audit, like whether it's the process or the delivery. Tell us what that is.
So the process for the audit is kind of like what I laid out in the beginning. So we're, deep diving into kind of the back end of social, which sometimes we don't get access, so we can't go all the way, but we can at least see what the user is seeing and what their experience is. So once we get there, typically we have a meeting with the client. And if they have a social team, we also have a meeting with their social team. And really anybody who has their hands in social media, just in case, they decide that they want to continue participating. And so essentially it's a walkthrough of all that information and we open it up for questions. Typically clients don't have too many questions because they're just like, okay, well, since you have all the knowledge, you will be the one doing it. We don't usually always have people with teams, but when we do have clients with teams, it's more of a collaborative conversation.
Yeah.
And we try to make sure, or at least I try to make sure that like in that moment, I don't ever want any social media manager to think that they're doing a horrible job because we all have different ways of managing. We all have different ways of creating. We all somewhat have different philosophies about the different platforms and where our client should be. So it's always like, for me at least, I feel like it's just super important to let everyone know that like social is collaborative.
Yeah.
And even with our clients that don't have social media managers, like I need them to know that I need you to work too. Like, this is not just a me thing. Cause I don't have all the knowledge about your industry. I don't have all the knowledge about your product or your team. You are the hub of knowledge.
Yeah.
So, that's kind of how the conversation goes, I guess, in delivery. And then once that's done, and we have whatever conversation is there, we go into building out the strategy. And in that, like I said, we pick different types of content that would make sense based on the recommendations that we pulled from the different opportunities that they do have. And then I guess it's kind of off to the races. Like we go over the strategy with the client and we allow them to say, I don't like that, or yes, this aligns, or, the CMO. But yeah, I think that's all she wrote for the audit after that, I think.
I think that's huge though, because, something that you're pointing to is that the client helping to build their social media strategy and listening to that there is a strategic process and approach, and a real intentionality behind it is so important because once clients have that aha moment and they are engaging with you and sharing ideas or giving you feedback, not just a no, I don't like that, but hey, no, and here's why, which then builds our communal base of knowledge about them and the industry. It's so exciting because social media gets fun, it gets rewarding, it gets way more effective from a numbers standpoint. But that journey, like a big portion of the audit is to pull back the black curtain of creativity and let people see that there is actually systems and strategic thinking behind this.
Yeah.
And we want them to collaborate on this. So no, we don't need you to be doing it, but we do need you to be engaging in the strategy and the buy-in, and the feedback process. And then, so that things work faster.
Yeah.
So that process of engagement, I think, is so huge.
Yeah.
And if you are a B2B social media manager, you need to understand, don't get defensive during a social media audit. If that person is heart forward, like a social media manager should be, like you are, this is an opportunity for peer-to-peer collaboration, not destroying your work, but literally getting to take you up to your highest and best use so that you can find new opportunities and that your work gets showcased more importantly in the overall strategy. So I love what you're saying there, because some of my favorite work is when you do get to come in and up-level other teams and help them get out of the weeds is really what ends up happening, and help them see some of the things that because of the day-to-day busyness, there are opportunities that that get hidden, if you will, because they're so inundated with all of the technical and all of the, requirements that's, in the complexity of business to business scenarios. So,
well, because I also have some of my peers audit my social accounts.
I love that.
Too.
That's
so
amazing.
I think the thing is like you said, like, don't take it to heart.
Yeah.
Because like, in all honesty, like there are things, because, we do have a lot of clients. So like, sometimes there are things that like, I'm just kind of like used to doing and I'm doing and I'm doing. And I'm like, okay, I need something to change, but I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
So that's when I call one of my friends and I'm like, hey, can you take a look at this real quick? Just to let me know, like, what would you do differently? Or like, what would you maybe suggest that we add into the, the content mix? Because again, when you're working on one account, like you're used to the flow, you're used to everything going right. And so once things start to kind of like, you're like, not necessarily go wrong, but you're like, there's less impressions, less engagement, less reach. It's kind of like, all right, oh, we got to switch something up. But in my case, sometimes I just get like, I'm just like, okay, I don't know though. So I just ask, just ask people to take a look. And honestly, sometimes the feedback may seem a little brutal, but it's like, I didn't think about that. So that's one thing that I've learned too, is like a consistent, getting on a consistent basis of auditing your own social, even if you do it yourself, like, you just have to take a step back. Cause again, you've been doing this for months on end. You've been creating solid content. Maybe you have like certain days you post certain type of content and that works for you. It's been working. You're just going and going and going. But like, sometimes it's time to shake it up a little bit.
Yeah.
And you have to take a step back, and either allow someone else to audit your social, or you have to audit your social, honestly. Because some people I know for myself, if I try to do it myself, I'm like, oh, this is actually really good. Like, I don't have to worry about it. But yeah, so that's just the thing there, is audits are meant to help. They're not meant to bash or tell you that you're doing a horrible job. Even some of our clients that don't have social teams, like, they'll, sometimes be like, yeah, well, we were just doing what we could. And I'm like, listen, I understand. Like, I'm not telling you that you're doing a bad job. It's just, there are things that we could change and there are things that we can improve. And I mean, when you really think about it, that goes for anybody's day job, right? Like, anything can improve. So just in general, too, for clients and CEOs who may be in on the calls, don't take it to heart. We are just trying to make you better.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the transformation on the other side of that, when clients finally see social media feeds and their own stuff populating on their private platforms, where they are so excited and proud of what they see that represents their company, is just the best feeling. I know. Yeah. And seeing the employees and the sales teams get really excited about what's representing them is really important. And so, back to what you were saying, like letting that process mature, it's worth it, because if your social media is dramatically different 6 months from now or a year from now, and then that's the sustainable voice out there maximizing all of your lead sources and your brand reputation, let's go.
Yeah.
Like, that's worth it.
Gotta listen, you gotta go back to the drawing board every once in a while. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. But sometimes you do have to go back to the drawing board. And I think with the audit, like, it's one of my favorite parts of the process leading up to execution for us, because I get to kind of go behind the scenes and learn a lot more about the client. Like, sometimes you guys will say like, oh yeah, we have this new client coming in, and I'm like, well, I wonder what they're, what do they do? Or like, what is their audience like online? Like, who are they interacting with? Things like that. And so I get the opportunity to kind of go in the background and see like, okay, so, maybe they were posting in 2016, and back then these are who was these are the people who are interacting with them. Or even some of our clients, like they have Facebook pages that they've created, or groups, I should say, rather, LinkedIn groups and things like that. And so you get to kind of see like, okay, so this is what we were doing in the past. It was kind of working. So you just get to take that moment to see like the evolution, especially the clients that have like social accounts that have been active. But you get to see the evolution of their social.
Yeah.
And you get to kind of see sometimes where there was like maybe a little breakdown, maybe there was like a really big buildup, and you're like, okay, which part of this do I like the most, and which part should we maybe incorporate? Which also shout out to all the social media managers who have passed on accounts, because you guys have done a lot of legwork. And it's very helpful for people who are picking up. So I just want to say that real quick. But yeah, so I like going and doing the audits because, again, like I said, a lot of education, a lot of learning, a lot of getting to brainstorm about what I can envision for the future for our clients and things like that. So yeah, that was all.
I love it. Well, at the risk of not being able to do a comprehensive list, this almost makes me so nervous. So in a B2B social media audit, we're looking at things like, are you talking to the right audience on the right platform? Are there platforms out there that you're missing where your target market really is? Does the tone actually represent your brand archetype and the heart and culture of your company? Can you use social media not only to reach your market, but your talent and your team? Are you fostering an engaged community? Are there referral sources out there where you should be using different messaging? And have you left any of the amazing heart-forward content that is natural to who you are on the table that could actually present in a positive way? The final thing is content mix. Are you mixing it up, and is it in a style that actually aligns with how your target market wants to engage with social media? So as a final wrap up, because we did promise this, short form content.
Oh, yeah.
All right, let's talk about why is that important? What the heck is it? And why are so many B2B companies terrible at this?
So short form content or short form video is, I guess, the first thing that I think of, and probably everybody's TikTok. Reels, shorts on YouTube, LinkedIn now. I don't know what they're going to call theirs, but LinkedIn is now really pushing their short form video. I don't know what you call it, like their
I don't know what they're calling it yet
widget.
either.
I don't know, like their little add-on. So yeah, I don't know what they're going to call it yet, but most, if not all, of the social media platforms have their own version of it. And they are typically the best source of organic traffic, because what it does is they, obviously there are some that use hashtags, some that don't, that they don't necessarily work, but they take your content and they push it in front of people who are interested in things that are similar. So that's how a lot of people, obviously on TikTok, this is the best example that I have, is like, you curate your For You page, and that's pretty much all the content you get. Every once in a while, you'll get something new, something weird, and then you'll be like, oh, is the algorithm resetting? Like, what is it?
What did I do? Did I accidentally click on something?
So really interacting with that content is how people get their feeds tailored. But also, I think, this is just my opinion, because attention spans are getting a little shorter. It's a little bit better to put things in small digestible bits so that people can listen and move on. And sometimes they won't necessarily listen. And when I say listen and move on, like they can listen to what you're saying, and then they may interact and share your content just because they agree with it. Or they may comment and start conversation, because short form video too is apparently people's favorite place to leave all kinds of comments, negative, positive, argumentative, doesn't matter, random.
But engagement is a win.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Like, I know we don't love that, but
you just leave them there. Because like, I think, what was it, on one of our YouTube shorts, somebody had commented about like a game character, or somebody was dressed like a game character. Right. And I was like, more power to you.
Okay.
Like, it's okay. Like,
cool.
we're going to leave it. I like that you noticed that. And at least you stayed and watched the full thing.
Yes,
so.
totally.
That's cool.
Totally.
And even on like recently, since we just got kind of started up on TikTok, again, because we were originally only doing corporate caffeine, but it's all changed into the marketing blender. People have commented every once in a while saying like, oh yeah, I agree with this, or like, what is this? Can you make a video about this? So those little comments like that are always something that, I think helps drive engagement too.
Yeah.
because once other people see other people commenting, most of the time they have something else they want to say. Or one of the things on TikTok, especially for the larger accounts, is first comment. So like they even have a label now that says like first comment. But back to, I guess I was going too far down the TikTok.
No, I love it though.
But back to short form content and what it is. Like I said, it's the videos, small digestible bits of information. Every platform has it. And it's just really important too, because like, I hate to break it to everybody, but like I'll say it lighter. Not all of the information that you're giving people is interesting.
Yes.
So nobody,
yes,
like 100%.
We tell the truth. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, this video will be spliced up and we will have bits and pieces of information that people would prefer to listen to over like other things. But so like, I'm not even offended by it either. Cause like, even though I think everything I said is important, obviously to some people, it's like, okay, I only wanted to hear this part though. Like, I'm not really interested in hearing the whole thing. So, you know, those little bits of information that you can get, make them the most interesting, potentially the most engaging. And even, they don't even have to be super produced.
And then just learn from it.
Yeah.
Like, I will tell you how surprised I have been on the ones, because obviously the more views, then they get more populated, the more likes, the more comments, then they circulate. And so they take on a life of its own. And I really have been surprised sometimes by which shorts take off. You're like,
oh yeah, me too.
Really? And I mean, there were some where I'm like, I named that one. I knew his would go big, or I knew hers would go big. But there are other ones where I'm so surprised. But that informs you on what people are interested in and where you're populating. And so learn, just get better, like keep evolving.
I also think it's fun too, because like all your shorts don't have to be like taken from a YouTube video or like a video you've created, or, you know, like maybe a longer commercial, things like that. It's the chance for you to get creative and hop on some trends, have some fun. It really, I mean, I think especially if you're on like Instagram and Facebook, and if you're on TikTok, you know this already, I'm sure. But like those trending sounds and things like that that you can use and be just a little weird with your team. Let your social media manager have a little fun. Yeah, those are different types of, I guess, like short form content too that you could be using. And it doesn't always have to be educational. No, I guess is what I'm getting at.
Exactly.
So.
Exactly. And just blocking the time to do the content and to have a plan on how to use that hour or whatever in front of the video camera is just transformational. All right, you guys, thank you so much. Oh, and final note, short form content, men love video and they watch boatloads of short form content.
Oh, yeah.
And the vast majority of the business to business world is men. There you go. Like there's our social media tip for the day. So you guys, thank you so much. We really appreciate you. We would love to hear your specific or tactical questions or strategic questions about the social media audit or social media in the B2B world in general. And definitely go ahead and just engage, fostering community, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and we'll see you next week on Onward and Upward.